For those of you just looking at the thumbnail, probably confused and thinking, who is this character? Just wait. Let me do you one better. I will not only tell you who the character is, but also the game that it originated from, and the aspects of that game, and yada yada yada. So sit tight, guys, because here we go. First of all, this character doesn't really have a name. I guess Wizard would just be his Smash Brothers entry name, kind of like how Villagers was, well, Villager? This being said, I'll be referring to the character as Wizard for the remainder of the video. Wizard is the main character in the Wizard of Legend game. I'm not sure exactly where the game originated from or for what console, but it's currently available on Steam, PS4, Xbox One, the Switch, and more. All of this being taken into account, I think that we can all rest assured that Wizard would be a third-party entry. But as for what Wizard of Legend is, it's kind of like a local co-op, super fast-paced dungeon crawling game. That's kind of the way on how I see it described on websites and Wikipedia and things like that. So there's your fun fact for the day. In the game, there are two forms of currency: gold and gems. Or was it diamonds? Anyway, you can only collect the currency within the dungeons themselves. The main difference between the two is that gold is used inside of the dungeons and gems are used outside, in like the main hub area of the game. You collect a good amount of gold throughout the dungeons and are able to use them to purchase items and abilities, known as Arcanas, in the dungeons themselves. However, these items and Arcanas are not permanent to you. Anything that you buy and obtain inside of the dungeons, excluding gems, is not yours to keep, and nor do they return to you once you return to the dungeon. While you're grinding throughout the dungeons, however, you'll collect small amounts of gems from killing enemies, bosses, or chests, or whatnot. You get more gems the farther you advanced into the dungeons, obviously. As stated earlier, the gems are used as currency in the main hub of the game. Here you can buy Arcanas and Relics. Relics serve as special items that range between offensive, defensive, and miscellaneous, a big word for special. You can only equip a specific number of Arcanas and Relics to your character at a time, but you're able to surpass this limit within the dungeon, or dungeons rather, using the temporary items and such that you find there. Okay, so now that you have the basic gameplay mechanics out of the way, let's talk about Wizard's stance and potential in Smash Bros. For the Switch. As far as Wizard's availability and chances go for Smash Bros., I don't necessarily think that we'll see him. I think that the chances are rather extremely low. On a scale of 1 to 10, probably 2, and that's a hard 2. Hearing from other sources, it kinda seems that third-party characters are placed into Smash upon Nintendo's request to those characters' companies. Unless, well, you're Konami and bug the absolute crap out of Sakurai for Solid Snake. I feel like that if Nintendo were to ask the company about adding Wizard to Smash Bros., I think that 99 would kind of accept immediately. The issue, however, being Wizard's popularity. The game itself, Wizard of Legend, just came out for the Switch a little over 10 days ago from the time of this recording. So I wouldn't really think that, adding this character this quote-unquote late into the development cycle for Smash Bros. Would be optimal, so I guess DLC is an option, but even then that's still kind of pushing it when you have other characters, especially indie characters, that Nintendo could add to their roster like Shovel Knight or Shantae. Within Wizard of Legend, there are over 100 total Arcanas and Relics that the character can utilize. This makes his moveset, well, really difficult. However, there is somewhat of an easy way to kinda sort it out. Arcanas are also split into different elements: fire, water, lightning, earth, and air. Similar to Pokemon and, well, other RPGs, some element attacks have more effectiveness regarding other elements, some weaker, and that whole shebang. Now, I don't remember the default Arcanas that you get at the beginning of the game, but even if I did, I still think that it would be best to incorporate totally different moves throughout all different elements. Let's begin by listing some things off. As far as Wizard's jab and aerial attacks go, I think Wind Slash would be the best kind of way to go. This attack summons Arc of Slashing Wind upon contact. So think of it kinda like Leaf Blade, but wind, I guess. Truth be told, Avatar The Last Airbender would be a good inspiration to imagine how these attacks are supposed to look like. These two ideas aside, his down aerial would be similar to Sonic's, and it would be called Seismic Entry. Unlike Sonic's down A, I think if you want to call it that, is concerned, Seismic Entry would have a wind hitbox at the end of it upon contact. So kinda like the wind hitbox thing I talked about with Decidueyes and King Dedede and yada yada yada, that whole bit. For Wizard's dash attack, I think that it would suit best for it to be Tectonic Drill. This attack will drive its user forward and rock enemies with a giant drill made of stone. I would imagine that this dash attack to be kinda similar to Corrin's, but it would physically slow down with each hit where it penetrates into enemies since it's a drill. As for the Wizard's standard B, I think that this would just kind of be a simple projectile-esque move, being Exploding Fireball. This attack fires a massive fireball that explodes on impact. But when I say massive, I mean about like either 3/4 or a half of the side of Corrin or Samus's fully charged projectiles from Smash 4. And exploding on impact would, I imagine, have some sort of a stun or small continual burn damage effect. Whichever is less annoying but more effective is the route that I would go with on that. As for Wizard's side B, I think that this would fit best being Gust Burst. This attack has its user dash forward with such force that enemies in the area are pulled into your wake. This attack would be an invisible dash attack like Shadow Sneak, but doesn't charge, it's just a single jolt. When you reappear, enemies are thrusted back away from you in the form of a wind hitbox. Next is Wizard's down B, being Blazing Lariat. This attack forces the user to spin while swinging a blazing whip of flames. In Wizard of Legend, this is a signature attack. This means after a while, it can become even more powerful than it already is, kinda like Cloud's Limit. With this being implemented into this single attack, I'd say that you could soft charge it to spin about 3 to 4 times in a circle of flames. Without charging, it would only spin once, 360 degrees. Maybe 540 if we want to push it. His up B would be Heroic Leap. This arcana allows you to seize a foe and leap high into the air before crashing down. I would personally compare this up B to Wario's from Smash 4. And finally, we have his shield. His shield would be Earthen Aegis. This arcana forms a protective ring of stone shields. In the game, its effect is similar to Pit's down special, however the issue is this is meant to be his actual shield and not a special move. So if you can imagine Pit's down special being used and toned down to be more like a shield, then there this goes. Next up is skins, and there's actually a good amount of different viable robes that players can attain in the game. Each one also has their own special uses, but it'd be a bit unfair to include these into the different skins. So for red we have Hope, for blue we have Patience, for green we have Tempo, for purple we have Shift, for yellow we have Awe, for black we have Venture, for white and or gray we have Grit, and then Nintendo can obviously add any other colors that they want to for that, so there's skins. Next is stages. Wizard of Legend actually comes with quite a few different stages and a pretty big variety of choices, but I feel like it would best be suited if the stage for this character and franchise was a moving-esque stage. Like, it went from one dungeon to another, and then to a boss fight, and then to the main hub area, back around to the dungeons, and yada yada yada. Y'all have played Smash Bros. Before, so I'm gonna assume that you know what I'm talking about, kinda like the whole what Fire Emblem did and Brawl and whatnot, so there's that. Lastly, we have the trophies and items. The trophies could range from quite a few different things, actually. We can include the 4 members of the Magic Council, or the Golems. I feel like, though, the mini-bosses from the game would be best suited as obstacles in the actual stages for Smash. The items here would clearly be the relics, and oh boy, there's a good amount to choose from. For my top 2 picks, I would say the Charming Teddy Bear and the Freezing Sprite Naya would probably be the most interesting. The Teddy Bear has a chance to inflict damage to the enemy, the same damage that they're dealing to you. For Smash, this wouldn't actually hurt or hit the opponent, it would just add a small portion of their damage output to their current percentage for a limited time. The sprite would follow you around for maybe about a minute or two, slightly attacking enemies, kinda like Pikmin, but every once in a while completely freezes them. For Smash Brothers, once the sprite freezes an enemy, it'll just disappear. This will kind of be the balance measure for that. So all that being said and done, that's pretty much all I got concerning Wizard being placed into Smash. He's definitely not a popular character by any means, but I mean, after playing his game a few days after its release, I just, couldn't resist. So, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. This is Jake, logging out. Peace.